grandparents are celebrating 50 years of marriage because your grandfather never cheated on her. Stop playing. When your grandmama gonna tell you, grandbaby, how many times your grandfather was a rolling stone, smashing everything in the neighborhood? This was prior to social media. We're gonna celebrate 60 years of marriage and not tell people how you were able to get through all of that? Your wife was down to 80 pounds after she had to go through chemotherapy and all of those random sicknesses. You stayed. Money up, money down. You stayed. Are we loyal? Are we loyal to the net worth? Motherfucker, because the net worth is gonna change. I'm gonna be up, I'm gonna be down. That doesn't change what we promised God.
Let me stop this for a second. He started off by saying, you know, your grandparents being married 50, 60 years. How do y'all think y'all don't know the truth? Your grandma ain't never told y'all what Pop was doing. He had a whole other family. It was different times. And she still appeared to be happy because she had a duty.
And it was different. You know, what did Kev talk about? What did it say? Cheating respectfully. He used to always say that once your partner finds out about it, now they got to do something. But if they don't know, it is what it is if that's the life you choose to indulge in. But that's right. Social media definitely made things worse for the family structure. And Tyrese up here trying to save face. I ain't trying to hear him. But back in the day, Papa and them, they wasn't hunching everything in the community. No, there was different times. And I like to make the example of the widowed women back then. You got a widow down the street. She still need her grass cut. She still needs stuff done around the house. This one today, there wasn't no handyman hotline. And he said, I'm going to go down here and help. And back then, I'm pretty sure ladies knew one way to show their gratification outside of food. And it was what it was. And it wasn't no big deal. Wasn't nobody being replaced. It was what it was. But yeah, this whole, I don't agree.
Well, I think his greater point is he's speaking to these modern men and women thinking you could be in this 50, 60-year relationship and it's all going to be peaches and cream and roses. That part is true. Ain't nobody going to be in a relationship for 60 years and ain't nothing going to happen. The party is they're not, your grandparents don't tell you this stuff. They try to act like nothing ever happened. And he's saying we got social media now, everybody knows, you know, it's in our faces, but it's always been going on.
Stuff always gonna happen in relationships. My thing, me and my wife always say, as long as we can look back at them and at least laugh about them, joke, then it's all right. You know, we can make it through it. But yeah, things gonna happen. That's what Dad goes show. But yeah, Tyrese, another dude that ain't exactly the messenger, but he got a point.
So here we go. Hit the like button if you just came in.
So you got to understand what you don't understand. For the people watching. Now, the married folks at home, hallelujah, they're going to be screaming and hooping and hollering because they know it ain't easy to be married. Nope. And they also understand the magic and the beauty of marriage in itself. And I never understood that until Rev Run became my best friend. I had never consistently, keyword boys and girls, I had never consistently ever been around a married man prior to Rev Run. To understand what marriage, wife, family, it ain't arguing. It's how do you argue? Mm-hmm. You see? That's the difference. Everybody gonna argue. With two random people that don't know each other, your family ain't got nothing to do with my family. Your triggers ain't got nothing to do with my family. Your upbringing ain't got nothing to do with. We hope and we pray that a lot of who we are align. But when they don't, we're going to argue about it. Question is, how are you arguing? What are you arguing about? How are you arguing? Is the question.
So that was the end of his deal here. Yeah, like I said, Tyrese definitely the messenger. Sometimes you got to separate the messenger from the message. And, you know, he dropped a couple gems. He spoke there about the arguing, you know, like he says, how you, and definitely no, I think people think arguing is what you see with him on Baby Boy. That's extreme. All right. But when you first meet somebody, like you said, y'all don't know each other. So in them early years, y'all got to hash that stuff out and, like you said, become one.
That's an amen to that. Yeah, what is it? I think year 5 or 6 for me and the missus was a whoo mercy. And yeah, you got to hash it out. But I've said it before. As far as arguing, I really hate that word because, like you said, arguing, I hear yelling when I think of arguing, but discussions I feel like, forget that, scratch that. I believe that arguing goes away whenever you stop having misunderstandings. As it's my understanding that most arguments and disputes happen in households because of misunderstandings. If y'all really for one another, shouldn't be too much heavy conflict. A lot of stuff simply malcommunication, miscommunication. I figured that out. Well, me and the missus, and I ain't gonna hold you, big got a fairy tale since. But that's the biggest thing. But like I said, you gotta hash it out. Two selfish people coming together as one. We regardless of how selfish you think you are, you got selfish tendencies. That's a fact, and it's okay. But y'all got to come together. This is where the compromise comes into play. And compromise don't mean missing out or losing out on something. It means taking the other person's feelings and everything into account and acting accordingly, not being selfish. Yeah, he's spitting a little bit.
So what you got, Raquel? What you got? What he's saying?
I agree with him. My grandmother and my grandfather is still alive. He lives in a more popular place in Spain that's like younger people, different demographics of people. He has a young companion. And my grandmother, they were still married. She lived in the country house in the mountains without a companion, but when she died, she's going into the ground and he will go into the ground on top of her. Like they didn't divorce, and she didn't say this burial plot that we bought 25 years ago, I don't want to go into it. I want to go somewhere else now because he's doing XYZ 2 hours away from me in southern Spain. You know, like they were pretty transparent about relationships. So I never had a thought that my dad was perfect. I just knew that my dad wouldn't leave us. My dad would never put anybody before my mom. And even though my grandfather had this companion, he was still very much anything my grandma needed, any way she wanted it, he would acquiesce to. You know, they were older. You know, he wasn't going to change who he was, but, you know, I don't disagree with Tyrese. I think he's saying the truth. Is he the right messenger? No. But grandma went through stuff. My grandma on my dad's side went through stuff. She had 9 children with a man that was working, and he made good money. So yeah, they're going to be women after your man. So I think if you're smart, and you just know that that's a man's nature, then you just worry about dinner, lunches, the house, the kids. You find things to do in your life so that you're not constantly worried about this other woman that you're competing with. Like that's always going to be there, whether you know it or not. So I agree with Tyrese. I think he's speaking facts, even though he can't hold up his end of a bargain in a relationship either.
And that's the problem with, we'll get HQ back up here in 1 second. That's the problem with, the older people not telling the truth. Then you got younger people that see their grandparents and whatnot in this perfect light. Like, oh yeah, I want a relationship like that. Because no, you don't know what
she ain't never been
on.
through nothing, and she's never told you that she went through something and they got through it. So you're just thinking it's always, shits and giggles, but it's not. It's work every day. And for me, Mr. Walker, our year was year 8.
Year 8. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I think ours was 6. Yeah, and after that, you said definitely was some arguing going on. That's what Dad goes.
A lot of misunderstandings, and when you said the misunderstandings are what caused the argument.
Mm-hmm.
It's like as soon as you understand your square and your partner's square and how those squares conjoin, and
Mhm.
it's okay that, sometimes I'm going to have to barter what I'm thinking and feeling for him. And in some cases, when it involves the house or the children, my husband does that for me. But
Right.
now it's just like, okay, let's let daddy have his time. Daddy needs his time. We're gonna go watch Beetlejuice and we'll see him later. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an argument. You just
Yep.
know that we're not seeing eye to eye. It'll blow over. It's
Mhm.
not that serious. I'm not gonna
E-
hang my hat and die on the cross here about this. He can
Exactly.
have his time. But
Yes, ma'am.
Right. I wanted to say this one thing. People think being in a relationship is like 50-50, and it's never 50-50. Some days I only got 20% to give to this relationship. You're going to have that 80% in order for this to keep going on. A lot of people don't understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is some days I only got 30% effort to put in this relationship, and I'm going to need you to have the 70%, and you got to have the 70%. And some days you only got 40%, and I got to have that 80% to keep this relationship going. And that's what he really meant. What he really meant, you people are not explaining to you the real. Some days I don't want to be married. Some days you don't want to be married to me. So I'm the one that's going to have that 80% when you only got 20%. When you don't want to hear my mouth, when you don't want to hear what I got to say, when you don't want to see me, you only got 20%. I'm the one that's got to have that 80% in order
And
to make this relationship continue going.
I'll say it boils down to a lot of people, you can't be that transparent because a lot of people don't want to see the cooks while you're in the kitchen. So if you seen the process that went on at McDonald's and, Wendy's, all my fast food eaters, you wouldn't eat there anymore because you seen what went on in the kitchen. So it's hard to, explain some of the stuff to people or try to be transparent because you don't want to discourage people because it's not a bad thing, even though McDonald's is bad. But let's just say a regular restaurant, some Roof Chris or something. You don't want to go back there sometimes. You just want your plate when the steam is coming off of it and it smells good.
There you go. And it's also difficult to be transparent sometimes because of your duty. As a man, as a husband and wife, you have to protect each other's head. So as a, especially, as man and woman, you want to counsel the younger generation, as a man, you don't want to talk about all your woman's shortcomings. You know what I'm saying? You kind of got to be vague and vice versa. It's just how it goes. You got to protect each other's head while also counseling. So like Gav said, they really don't want to know, but if you give enough solid information, once they get to those granular things, those knockout arguments that you couldn't talk about, they're like, okay, pop up or they let me know how to navigate this. I'm gonna calm down, I'm gonna check myself, and then they can move forward. But yes, I agree, that's the thing too. All the married couples, don't go out telling folks, don't go uncovering your partner's head by telling all the bad stuff they did and their shortcomings. That
Right.
opens up the door for people to come in. Don't do it.
Here's another thing. Even though people have been married 30 and 40 years, people didn't air their dirty laundry out in the middle of the street. When Papa was a Rolling Stone down the street, didn't nobody know Papa was a Rolling Stone down. Mama didn't know he was a Rolling Stone down the street all the time. She didn't want to know that he had 2 or 3 kids on the other side of town. People didn't air their dirty laundry. Now people just tell everything. Get on social media. My boyfriend cheat. My mama da. My daddy did this. Back in the day, they didn't run their mouth and tell everything. That's how relationships stayed together. Even though you may not have meant to stay together, if I was cheating on my husband, I wasn't running around telling everybody on social media that I got me a side boo. I wasn't doing all that. I was doing my dirt over there on the other side of town and bringing myself back home and cooking and cleaning for Papa. And Papa didn't know none of that until after I died. So this is the marriages these days is totally different. I was married for a long time. Do I think my husband cheated on me? I'm not going to think in those terms. I'm going to think I had a 30-year marriage and that marriage was what it was because he never left me. I never left him. So I'm not going to say that he never did or he didn't. I'm never going to say that.
Well,
I don't
I
know.
would say in theory, it's impossible for a man to cheat if he's still showing up, doing his duties every day. If you don't know, if you got this kind of peace of mind, he did his job. So it's not for you to go be trying to figure things out.
Right.
You know, a guy doing his job every day, he's not cheating. He's 100% committed.
That's what I would like to think. So that's why, I stay in my happy place.
I mean, as long as nothing is out of order, nothing changes day to day. I'm not going to look through his phone unless there's disrespectful cheating and there's respectful cheating. I mean, I look at it this way. If you disrespectful with it, then I got to face it. I got to look at it and say, do I want to stay here and deal with this mess? But if you respectfully cheating and I don't know you cheating, I don't have nothing to confront because the only thing you can say is I ain't doing what I'm doing. And then I'm going to go back and do what I've been doing and I ain't going to pay attention to it. But if you out here bringing her to my house, you out here, she calling me, she talking crazy to me. Every time I go out, I see her. No.
She leaving notes on my car. Ooh.
Yeah.
Or he changing up. Like some men will cheat and part of their strategy is this is an exit. Like this ain't man cheating. He going home to his wife and gonna go on with their life. He's with this woman and he's looking for an exit strategy with his wife, and it's premeditated, and that's a whole nother story because now you taking time away from your family. You over here with this woman when you forgetting stuff, you forget anniversaries and whatnot, and now. You see what I'm saying? You ain't doing your duties.
And you're not good for the group because now that's gonna start to affect your circle. It's bad. See what I'm saying? There's rules and standards to this, and it all makes sense. That's for sure, man.